The ultimate search and rescue hovercraft. It's a spectacular piece of equipment. Here we go. Can a team transport this multi-million-pound marine machine? Full stop. Let's get a little bit closer. Diver in the water. Over 9,000 miles stretch from Southampton to Vancouver. We mustn't fall into the trap of assuming it will all behave as it should. It is nerve-wracking. There's no doubt about it. The crew must battle treacherous seas. If we're in the wrong place, it could be very dangerous. Stop. You'll damage the cargo and creaky cranes. She's 30 meters up in the air, so I'm pretty nervous. Stop. One huge hovercraft, one team with a mission to move it. An epic adventure that will test the nerves of those who dare to do monster moves. Vancouver, Canada, a beachfront city on the country's west coast. These warm waters draw millions of swimmers, surfers, and sailors each summer. Sea Island. In charge of keeping them safe is Captain Bruce Briggs, who heads up the Coast Guard station here. Okay, broken leg. We'll be there in about 10 minutes, okay? The Coast Guard base at Sea Island is one of the busiest in Canada, if not the busiest. On any given day, countless things can go wrong. Our role is primarily search and rescue, but we also handle wreckage, maintain navigation aids, service lighthouses, and respond to pollution incidents. We have over 600 square kilometers of tidal mud flats. At high tide, it appears to be deep water, but in reality, it's shallow. We often see small vessels run aground. To cope with troublesome tides, Bruce's team desperately needs a new breed of rescue vehicle. The solution is being built 5,000 miles away in Southampton. For 40 years, engineers at Griffin Hoverwork have been designing and building versatile vessels that can glide over any terrain. The Hovercraft. The company's origins stem from the legacy of Sir Christopher Cockerell, who invented the Hovercraft in 1959. Project manager John Coke is at the forefront of their evolution. The Hovercraft is an excellent piece of British engineering, right up there with Concorde and the Spitfire. It's a spectacular piece of equipment. Over the years, it's been adapted, improved, and developed from Sir Christopher's original concept. Today, hovercraft are used worldwide, landing troops in hostile zones, ferrying passengers across frozen rivers. Griffin Hoverwork has been making them for over 4 decades, and the fundamental principle remains the same. This is the hovercraft John's team is building for the Vancouver Coast Guard, the AP-188, measuring 32 meters in length. It's the biggest craft they've ever conceived, yet its key components have barely changed from Cockerell's original design. Powered fans draw in air and pump it beneath the hull into a large rubber skirt. The skirt traps the air, creating a cushion. Hundreds of flexible fingers seal the bottom of the skirt against varying landscapes. Directional nozzles channel air for steering, while powerful propellers provide forward thrust. It's the perfect solution to the Coast Guard's problem. It's not mass production, it's a one-off, a lot of hard work from a bare shell to what you see now, John says. We've basically completed all the fitting out. Engines, propellers, pipes, tanks, everything needed to make the craft go. Boasting a top speed of 40 knots and a multi-million-pound price tag, John must ensure it arrives in Canada without a scratch. This craft isn't designed for long sea journeys like a ship. It's like setting off in your car across the Sahara. You wouldn't do it. It's our livelihood. It's precious. We don't want anyone damaging it. The hovercraft can't make the 9,000-mile trip to Vancouver on its own, so the pilots will drive it 3 miles from the factory to Southampton docks. There it will be loaded onto a cargo ship for a voyage across the Atlantic, through the Panama Canal, and up the Canadian west coast to Sea Island. John has secured space on a cargo ship, leaving Southampton in 22 weeks. Before it can sail, the team must finish the build and carry out rigorous sea trials. This has been a 3-year project from contract signing. It looks big and imposing, but our first task is simple. Pull it out of the factory. Here we are, nearly finished, ready to go out the door. All that's left is fitting the skirt. Shifting the half-built craft out of the hangar could be a big bother without its hover capability. With no power, towing could wreck it. So John's crew will position giant rollers under each corner, attach a winch truck at the front to pull, and a digger at the rear to steer. They must be careful turning out of the doorway. One dent could set the project back months and miss the boat. When you move something this large not designed for wheels, it's nerve-wracking. John admits. "We're waiting for the all clear from the guys around the craft." They get the thumbs up and start. "She's moving. We need to begin turning or we'll head straight out into a field, a complete spin," he jokes. "It's a good feeling. You can't help but be a bit emotional." Just as they get going, they hit a snag. "These tracks for the main hangar doors have solid flat wheels. We need to lay steel plates so the wheels can pass without hanging up. Let's do that now." They try again. Don't always get it right first time, but that's how it goes. Give it a small pull. Adam, full stop. It's a tight squeeze past the hangar posts. "It's close. Let's try pulling at an angle to keep it away." Soon they're clear. Perfect. Next stage, fit the skirt. With the skirt installed, the crew can test the hovercraft in open water. Back in Southampton, John's team carefully lifts the craft onto stands to attach the skirt. This must be done slowly and evenly to avoid damaging the hull. "The most important part is the skirt. Without it, it's just a boat," John explains. The skirt is made of 80 meters of neoprene, tough and flexible enough for all terrains. This outer loop inflates fully, catching a large cushion of air, fed by the lift fans, a technician says. It takes a team of 4 more than a week to attach the entire skirt. With electronics, night vision cameras, and a crane installed, the hovercraft is ready. Before shipping, John's team must conduct rigorous sea trials. "This is search and rescue, so performance must be 100%, John says. He calls in experienced pilot Peter Mulhern for critical speed tests. "Today, we'll see how she handles in open water, reach full speed, and spot any glitches. We mustn't assume it'll behave perfectly," Peter warns. "We'll steer clear of vessels. Getting too close would be unwise." Unfortunately, it's Cowes Week, the world's largest sailing regatta, just outside the factory. Thousands of yachts crowd the water. John monitors progress from his office via a live map. "There are a lot of boats. This won't be easy." Peter navigates through the chaotic regatta. A yacht strays too close, but soon drifts off. Finally, they reach open water and attempt full speed, 40 knots. The hovercraft accelerates smoothly. At 30 knots and climbing, it soon hits the target, 40 knots. A job well done. Returning home, they note some skirt damage, likely debris in the water. They lift the craft and find a torn stability bag. It's surprising damage, costing a 5-figure sum to fix. With the ship's departure approaching, delays are risky. They install a new skirt section quickly. With repairs done and trials complete, the team wraps and packs spare parts for the 9,000-mile journey. It must arrive in top condition. Spare parts are crucial because the craft will operate in remote areas. No simple replacements are available locally. Each box is accounted for, every item manifested. Over months, the crew tested speed, maneuverability, and heavy lift crane operations. This craft must perform for years to come, saving lives. Now, the largest hovercraft they've built is ready to ship. John calls in Chief Pilot Rob Trussler, who once taught Pierce Brosnan to drive a hovercraft for a James Bond movie. With that 007 cool, Rob will deliver the machine to the cargo ship. They'll set off from the factory on the River Itchen to Southampton docks. At the dock, Loadmaster Gavin Boyle awaits. He's in charge of craning the hovercraft aboard. "Once cargo's on the hook, there's no time off," Gavin says. He measures the ship's hold, 12 meters wide. The hovercraft is 11.5 meters wide, a tight fit. He calls Griffin Hoverworks head office for approval. They agree. The move is on. Back in Vancouver, Captain Bruce Briggs and his team prepare for the craft's arrival. Its dive platform will enhance underwater operations. They hope to have it in service early next year. In Southampton, the hovercraft approaches the dock. Container ships pass, creating swells. Rob must moor safely to avoid the wake knocking it about. The crane will lift the hovercraft using 4 straps. The skirt could act like a sink plunger, sucking up water and adding weight. To prevent this, Rob will run the engines in hover mode as the crane takes the strain, keeping water out. "Most dangerous part of the operation," Gavin says. They thread 2 rear straps through the cabin for balance. If the hovercraft tips, it could snap. They start lifting but realize the front straps are too short. They lower it back, adjust lengths, and try again. This time, success. She's 30 meters in the air, dangling over the side, says Rob, still nervous. Wind gusts could slam it into the hull, but they lower it gently into the hold. Perfect. They secure it by welding lashing rings and tying it down, so even the worst storm won't budge it. We lash as if going through the worst weather, Gavin says. They shield the windshields from damage. With everything secure, the ship sets sail for Vancouver, a 7-week, 9,000-mile journey. After that journey, the ship docks in Vancouver. Rob flies in from Southampton to check if the hovercraft survived intact. It looks good. Before unloading, he tests the engines carefully. Everything fires up nicely. Gavin briefs his team for unloading. This time, they'll lift and swing it directly into the water. The weight distribution and strap positioning are critical. They hoist it from the hold, inching past obstacles. Once out in open air, they lower it onto the waves. Perfect. Rob and his crew board the hovercraft in Canadian waters. It starts smoothly, ready for its final journey to Sea Island. For Loadmaster Gavin, it's mission accomplished. No damage, nicely controlled, job done. In Sea Island, the Coast Guard is thrilled to see it arrive. Bruce Briggs shakes hands with John's team. It's been a long process, but we're excited to have it here and get it into service. You can't put a price on saving lives. Save one life, and it's paid for itself.